All right, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, singing in the rain song. Welcome to Althea, and on this glorious July 4th weekend, we are the few people who remain in the city. It appears to be. It just seemed like it was dead when we were on the roads yesterday. It's just dead. But that's fine. That's fine. Welcome to Althea. Do we have any first-timers here? Oh my gosh, we have 5 newcomers. Oh my gosh. Sharing this holiday weekend with us. We are, Barbara Vale is handing out a flower just so that we can recognize you and give you a, hopefully, not embarrass you too much, but to welcome you here, and thank you so much for being here. It's really nice. Nice to have new faces here. Wow. That's like the 25% of the attendance there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Let's see. If you have a cell phone, just a reminder to turn that off or turn it on vibrate or silence, or the setting that I prefer is zap. So that if it goes off, a little cheap forever. And we started with our last spiritual director, started reading a land acknowledgement, and it's sort of taken hold, and we actually even have a deeper connection to the indigenous populations here at Althea on this land that we occupy. And so I will read our updated statement here. We want to acknowledge the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute peoples. This is their indigenous land that we are currently residing on, and it's important for us to name it for the people whose lives matter. Their legacy matters. Who they were, who they are, and continue to be really matters. Take a moment to breathe this land acknowledgement in. This place is sacred, and it is made even more holy by the land underneath it. Althea Center is proud to be the home of Spirit of the Sun. This is an organization whose work in this community through activism, programming, and education is making a difference for Indigenous communities, one youth at a time. So they actually occupy some space in our building here. So we want to acknowledge them, acknowledge those Indigenous peoples, and the history of their presence here that we sit on. And let's also acknowledge the people who founded this building, our lovely Brooks sisters and the other founders for this wonderful sanctuary, which is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. Pretty astonishing. And Stephen, we have more about celebrations coming in, or any announcements, or not yet?
Next Sunday we'll talk about that.
Okay, so we are planning some celebrations. Let's see, okay. I think it's time for an opening prayer. So if you're comfortable, please just close your eyes and just breathe at your own pace and really take a deep breath. And just exhale, 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 exhale. And breathe and exhale and just know that you are breathing in that energy of life. And that circle of exhaling, you are giving life to all of the plants' life on this planet. And so there is this synergy among the flora and the fauna, and us and each other. And let us just sink into our chairs and to just be in this moment. Because this moment right now is all we have. Let's just let go of what it took to get here. Stresses and strains of life. Not to ignore them, but to just put them gently to the side. And focus on being here with each other at Althea. For we know that we come here to celebrate our life with the one, our life with the other, each other. We're here to celebrate this uniqueness that each of us possesses. Because when we realign ourselves, when we remind ourselves of this deep and divine connection, we replenish the energies that we need when we walk out these doors. We know that it is a difficult experience being human. But let us also rejoice in that uniqueness. For we are one with the divine, and any problem that we have the divine on our side, and we are invincible, each in our own way. We celebrate this weekend as the founding of our country, and they, the founding fathers and mothers, did not take no for an answer. Just think of what they went through, truly turning the world on its head. And it's this astonishing creation emanated from these people. And we are their inheritors. Yes, this country has its issues, has its problems. God knows. But you know what? I don't see people lining up to try to get into any other country. For we are a welcoming and open-hearted, large community. And so here in Althea, let us, each of us in our own way, just give thanks for our experiences here. And if there are issues or problems that we have, then we have God on our side. Everyone does. But we have creativity. We are one with the infinite creative source to find solutions to these problems. And let us rejoice in the abundance that we, all of us, experience. We can go to any grocery store and practically buy whatever we need. And when we think about all the stresses and strifes in the rest of the world, I hope we put this in its proper perspective and give the world our love, because that is our divine connection. Love. And so with gratitude, we embrace here at Althea all religions, all genders, all of life. We welcome everyone. And with open hearts, hopefully that get open more and more and more, we know that this community grows and grows and grows. And so let us let go of any strifes and challenges that we have, and let us remain in this divine energy and embrace Althea, each other, and let us bless the message from our speaker, Bob, today. Let us bless our music from Matthew today. And let's just release it all. Let go and let God, let Spirit. And together we say, and so it is. And now it's time for our event. So on your little handout here, we have on the front side our statement being, we have for our new folks here today, this is a foundational statement for all of Althea. We say it every Sunday. And Anna now is going to do it for us.
Okay, well, can you hear me? God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one love is all, is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God, and are everyone with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
Thank you, Anna. She does our plans here. And are they magnificent or what? Great energy from the building and great energy from Anna's tender loving care. They're glorious. Let's see what's next here. Our featured musician. There he is. A good looking guy just getting ready to go up on the stage here. is also one of our chefs. He is a multi-talented person here, Matthew Quigley. And let's see, I have some notes on. Oops. I don't want to change the page there. Let's see, I know I did. There it is. So Matthew Quigley is a local musician who's currently a chef and a yoga instructor. See, I told you he was multi-talented. He does yoga every Sunday, right? There we go.
His class.
Every Sunday at 2. Every Sunday at 2. And I've heard nothing but great things about it. Singing and playing guitar since he was 10. Matthew is currently working on a spiritual album with 22 songs dedicated to universal love and peace. The album is being released one song at a time. And do you have information that you can hand out?
It's on every stream service.
Okay. Matthew Quigley. So in addition, he plays his songs, which he calls songs of devotion, during his restorative yoga classes at Althea, or what he likes to call yoga with pillows. So please welcome Matthew Quigley.
That's great. So yeah, I'm Matthew Quigley. So that's my stage name. So yeah, songs of devotion. So in the Hindu religion, devotion to what you do in singing, cooking, yoga is a way to inner peace. And so these songs, this is my devotion. I call them songs of devotion, and they're just love and full of love and peace. And this one I'm singing, it's a song of forgiveness. I always like to think of someone or something to forgive when I play it. And mostly I like to forgive myself. When I play it, I'm really hard on myself. So if you want to think of something or someone to forgive, and I use some poems from Rumi to make the song. So some of my words and some of Rumi. He was a poet, a Sufi poet from 100 years ago, but he was all about love and embracing everyone. Just love is the way across the bridge. So please enjoy. Love's a truth rise up to heaven. We have seen enough of this world. Don't stop at the entrance. Even though the garden's overflowing, let us go and see Gaia herself. From our head to our toes, we are crooked bows. We can fly straight as an arrow. Let us bow to the ocean. Let us pray to the sea. Let us ride out on the water to the island of freedom. Let us travel to the heart of darkness. Let us taste the salt in our tears. Let us always change our song of forgiveness. Song of forgiveness. And our hearts beat fast. We tremble like leaves when we fall. We can be in a movable mountain. Let us be the birds of paradise, flying down to drink sweet water, and let us be always in the moment. Let us be the rain that falls on the eagles. Let us be the lion's roar, and we can be found, and we can be found the lion. Let us bow to the ocean. Let us pray to the sea. Let us ride out on blue water to an island made for freedom. Let us travel to the heart of the darkness. Let us taste the salt in our tears. Let us always change our expression from sadness to cheer when we hear a song of
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was just hypnotic. Just beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I found a couple of quotes for a holiday here. One is from Thomas Jefferson, our third U.S. president. God who gave us life gave us liberty. And can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are of the gift of God, that they are not to be violated, but with his wrath? Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. I like this one from Martha Washington. I am determined to be cheerful and happy in whatever situation I may find myself, for I have learned that the greater part of our misery or unhappiness is determined not by our circumstance, but by our disposition. Wise woman. And so today's theme is on freedom, and Bob, our speaker here, he became interested in Eastern philosophy and religions after living in Korea and Japan. Who knew? From 67 to 70, his search for a place in the U.S. where he would feel at home finally happened in 89, when a New Thought Center in San Francisco, quote unquote, found him. He became a licensed religious science practitioner in '91 and absolutely loves the way that the Althea community is so open, inclusive, and dedicated to exploring the mystical teaching of all religions. Please welcome our board president, Bob Burke.
So, just wanted to tell you that now is the time when I will preach the sermon for today. And this is a serious time where I admonish you and tell you how to behave and how to act and what you should believe. The only problem is then I would have to do that too, and I'm not going to. So forget the sermon. I did a lot of research on the web about freedom. 9th grade civics for me was a long time ago. And in 9th grade, I could care less back then about all that stuff anyway, so I don't remember any of it. But the first thing I did, and this was because Jenny said, you have to make them laugh. So I probably spent about 30 minutes on the web looking for 4th of July jokes. They were dreadful. They were awful. They were all either bad puns, I mean really bad puns. I love a good pun. These were not good puns. These were bad puns. Or they were jokes that if you were under 70, you wouldn't even know what the joke was talking about. Or they were just childish, dumb jokes, so forget that. So what I thought I'd do is I'm going to count to 3, and I'm just going to ask everyone here to please just do a belly laugh. Okay, we can all do that, I know we can. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's how it stopped. Is that okay, Jenny? Okay, yeah. So, I really don't feel like what I'm doing today is a talk. It's more like a bunch of ideas and things that popped up in my mind and popped up as I was looking online and looking back through old classes that I've taken. And one of the things that I saw immediately was the British, and probably other Europeans also, say that the 4th of July is the only date that Americans say correctly. 4th of July, 4-7. Because in every other way we do it, we do 7-4. If you look at the rest of the world, they do 4-7. So I think this is good that we could acknowledge that we at least get this one date a year right, 4th of July. Just real quick, a couple of definitions that popped up that I thought were interesting. Freedom. The power to act, speak, think as one wants, without hindrance and without restraint. So that's saying what we can do, what is like we can take in from freedom. And kind of on the opposite side of freedom is the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved, either physically, emotionally, or psychically. So kind of the yes and the no about freedom, two opposite ways of looking at it. And then the third way, which we'll kind of talk a little bit later about, is free will, the metaphysical meaning of free will, what that can mean in our lives. So I got a bunch of quotes I'm going to read, and then I'm going to pause a couple of times, and I would invite you, if you have ideas that pop up in your mind, you are welcome to stand up and speak them out, and you are free to do that. I am not enslaving you to listen to me this whole time, and I would love to hear what ideas come up for you. So a couple of times during this, I'm going to open it up, and you can either use a microphone, which we have available, or if you just want to stand up and speak it, I'll repeat it so that we can all hear it. A few definitions. This first one is from, I heard this guy speak years ago in LA, Krishnamurti, a very powerful speaker. I just want to tell a real quick story. He did his talk, which if you've ever heard him or listened to his tapes or read him, not easy always to understand. And he opened it up. This was the Marine Memorial. There were a zillion people. He opened up to questions. And he said, before we start questions, I just want to say I don't want any stupid questions. Sure enough. Second question in, a person started to ask a question, and he said, ma'am, stop. That is a stupid question. Next. I thought, isn't that interesting? This guy is just right there, not wasting time. So here's his quote. So, freedom is love, which in its very nature is responsible to the flower by the roadside and to the neighbor, whether that neighbor is next door or 1,000 miles away. Compassion is the very essence of freedom. Interesting. Compassion is the essence of freedom. You know, as usual, he doesn't say what you think he's going to say. And then from the guy that we call the Buddha, no one outside ourselves can rule us inwardly. When we know this, we become free. When we know this, we become free. And this is from Virginia Woolf. Not as in who's afraid of, but as in the writer. Lock up your libraries if you like, but there's no gate, no lock, no bolt that you can set upon the freedom of mind. No bolt, no lock, no gate that you can set upon the freedom of mind. Don Miguel Ruiz. The freedom we're looking for is the freedom to be ourselves, to express ourselves. So to be and to express. And then there's a statement from the anarchists, which I thought was interesting. Anonymous, I don't know who made it. Preach anarchy and repeat after me. I am free. Freedom, not possession. Freedom, not possession. And then this morning on Facebook, one of my friends who writes a little Facebook thing every week, she and I taught together in Santa Fe many years ago. She wrote quite a bit on freedom, but at the end she wrote this little sentence that I thought was very, very interesting. Each of us is the diamond cutter of our own lives. We are free to cut whatever facets in the diamond that we choose. What do we choose? So I thought that was interesting, that idea of being a diamond cutter. The diamonds being so hard, so beautiful, so expensive, but yet one of the hardest substances that we know. And we are the diamond cutter of our own jewel. And we cut the facets. And we're free to cut them however we like. So I just thought these quotes were kind of interesting and come from different places, different traditions about this thing that we call freedom. And it's every time I thought about freedom, I got different ideas and different things came up for me, and they're probably coming up for you also. One other little, kind of getting back into 9th grade civics and talking about what the 4th of July is about for us as those who live in the United States. Freedom is one of the main ideas promoting the United States independence from Britain. And it's interesting if we look at other documents and other governments, especially during the time that we were doing all that back in the 1700s, the Declaration of Independence clearly states that these freedoms are given by the laws of nature and nature's God. So we state that these freedoms are given to us by God. In many other European countries that had similar revolutions to us, France, for one, stated that the freedoms are given by the government. The government gives the citizens the freedom. And we say that the freedom comes from nature, nature's God. And I never heard that before, and I just thought it was very, very interesting that way back then, that idea of freedom being given by God, being inherent. Not something that the government has to say, okay, the government declares you are now free. Now, that did happen later in our history. The Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments, 4 of them have the word freedom right in them. I think all of us know the first one, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly. And the 4th one is freedom from, which I talked about back at the beginning, from having to have soldiers housed in your place of residence, which we kind of think is kind of odd. They had to write a bill of an amendment to the Constitution that the government couldn't force you to keep soldiers in your house. And then if you look back at history, that's just what happened. So, but it's kind of interesting now that that's still one of the Bill of Rights, which we talk about all the time. Freedom from excessive bail and cruel and unusual punishment. That's another freedom. And then these other freedoms happened later on in the amendments. In 1865, an official end of slavery. This is the official end. We know from celebrating Juneteenth a while back that a lot of people didn't know that this freedom had happened, but it was an amendment 1865. 5 years later, the freedom to vote no matter what your color was, not what your sex was. That didn't happen until 1920. 1920 is when women got the right to vote. That's amazing. It's astounding to me. Then the one I like, the 21st Amendment, was the freedom to once again legally have a martini or a beer. And again, the prohibition, I think back and think, oh my goodness, how did that happen? Well, we can look at what's happening right now in our government, and I think a lot of us think, how could this happen? Well, things like that happened way back then too, and then it was reversed. And finally in 71, everyone age of 18 or over got the right to vote. Before that, it was up to the states, and a lot of states had to be quite a bit older to vote. So it's just, I don't know, this just brought up a lot of questions and ideas and made my mind kind of jump around to think about freedom, what's going on in our country right now, and the world, not just our country, but also my own self. What kind of freedom do I have? And what does it mean to me? What is this inner freedom? What is freedom about? I mean, I think maybe especially I kind of came of age in the 60s, and freedom was a big deal. And I think every generation has their own coming of age and freedom. So I would just like to hear what's going on in your mind, and what are you thinking about, and what comes up for you regarding freedom. And if we have a microphone back there, if you'd just like to stand up and say what you're thinking about.
Can you hear me? What it brought up to me was, which is what I'm working on right now, is forgiveness. Just Matthew's song, in that I'm finding for myself that tremendously releases me. Other people, mainly myself, releases me from chains that I've had.
That's a really good thought. I mean, we really can't live in our own personal freedom if we're dealing a lot of issues that we have to forgive. Both outside ourselves, but more importantly, inside ourselves. And like many people have said, freedom doesn't mean approving of what the other person or other entity did, but of letting it go. Releasing the power it has on you. And that opens us up to freedom. Absolutely. Thank you. That's a good one. Good one for all of us.
Well, I can kind of relate to that, but this 4th of July, I'm thinking of freedom in terms of the acceptance of the truth of multiplicity is healing.
Is what?
Healing,
Yes.
which is a path to freedom.
Yes. So did you hear that? The acceptance of multiplicity is healing. And letting go of our own egocentric idea, still honoring it, but realizing that there's a lot out there that is different. And that's what, you can't make a soup. Well, you can. You can have what I call stone soup. And you get a pot of water, put a couple stones in it, boil it, serve it up. It's not very good. Most soup is not good with just one ingredient, no matter how much you love the ingredient. I love hot fudge sundaes. However, it must be made with vanilla ice cream and hot fudge. Chocolate ice cream and hot fudge do not work because they're both the same, and it kills the taste. So for me, I, of course, would never tell you what to eat unless you ask me. But a hot fudge sundae with vanilla ice cream and hot fudge, maybe whipped cream and a cherry, but I don't care. But that's what makes it good, is the yin and yang, kind of the multiplicity of what's going on. The same thing in our lives. Anna.
Hi, thank you. So, what came up for me, or what's coming up for me is I feel like no matter what's happening in my outside, I have freedom of thought, I have freedom of feeling, and that's something that I feel nobody can take away from us, is our minds and our hearts. It's a place in us that nobody can ever touch. And for me, I feel a freedom with that. And also I want to say I appreciate the freedom of I know how everybody has different clothes and everybody expresses themselves different ways. We can really express ourselves in this, where we are, and I appreciate that, and that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Freedom of expression, and she talked about the head and heart. I think probably most of us heard that the longest journey in the world is the journey from the head to the heart. And it's always an interesting thing to think about too, and freedom of expression, of being who we are, and not being afraid to look silly. I would never try to look silly. But it is a freedom, and allowing ourselves that freedom and the multiplicity to appreciate other people's freedoms. Yeah. Even if we don't like it. I don't like licorice. I think it is nasty. But if you eat a piece of licorice and go into ecstasy, I say, hallelujah, good for you. I would rather you eat it. Kirsten, here comes the microphone.
Oh, okay.
That makes it official.
Yeah. Well, I think that we can, some parts, it's very, very difficult in women. Okay? And we are so attached to our egos. And it's really a tough journey to open up and become spacious and accept others with love and understanding. So I do believe that the soul and the ego really are not exactly brothers or sisters. The soul is free of egocentricity, and the ego frequently, unfortunately, is utterly self-centered. And what I think would be wonderful would be if we all became just really spacious and open and welcoming to all. And I think that has to do with compassion and with understanding other people's cultures and other people's, social status and all these kinds of things. And also, I think generosity. I think with spaciousness, there is a generosity. And we look into other people's lives that are not at all easy. And in this country, it's surprising to me how many people are so utterly avoided and neglected and not accepted. So yes, again, I'm coming back to my word I love so much, which is spaciousness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm not quite sure how to say this, but I want to build on what Bruce was saying and what Kirsten, you were saying about the multiplicity. But when I have talked with people that are very different than me, the anti-vaxxers or the anti-maskers and so on, I try to, respect and remind them that we act in relationship to community, that our freedoms are not totally unbound. And they come about because of a community that allows us to do certain things. I don't know if I can say better than that. I think Viktor Frankl in his book, The Man's Search for Meaning, talked about the responsibility that comes with freedom. And we think about the planet, our precious planet, and how we treat it. There's a kind of responsibility that comes with all the freedom that we feel that we have. And so, Kirsten, I would love to talk to you more about soul and ego, but not right now. Thank you.
Thank you. The interesting word to me is community. And when we think of, we say that word a lot, community, we're a spiritual community, we live in a community. And when we think about it, I grew up at a time where I was forced to take 2 years of Latin in high school. We had to. I hated it, but I'm so glad I took it because of word understanding. And community is calm means together, and unity means unity, and it's coming together, bringing together, holding together, opening together. So I just, thinking about a word that we use all the time and looking at what it really means. And so thank you for bringing up that word.
Yes, I just wanted to say, we're all free to think what we like to think. Imagine, and this is kind of getting into a quote by C.S. Lewis, and I'm just paraphrasing it. Imagine that all your wants were fulfilled just by your thoughts. All the other people in the world would not be necessary, and you would be an island unto yourself. Imagine that. If that feels like a happy place to be with your freedom. Interesting.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything that's popping up in their mind? You are free to express it.
Hey Bob. Hey Bob.
Way up there.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm pretty loud. I think I can project. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Just really quickly, what this brought up for me is that, I find for myself when I'm not feeling free or feeling restricted, which happens often, I have to say, but typically I have to look inward. That it is my mind, the things happening in my mind that are holding me back from freedom. That it is myself restricting what I say is free. And I have to work on that all the time to make sure that I'm in check and not holding myself back from my own freedom of who I can be. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, it's one of the things I like to remember is that even if I'm not feeling free, or I'm feeling pain, or I'm feeling disconnect, or anger, or fear, that is something I am experiencing. Yes, I acknowledge it. I am experiencing that. But that ain't who I am. That's not who I am. I am not fear. I am not loneliness. I am not anger. I am not pain. It's something I am experiencing. And sometimes I think that can help unwind some of that stuff that's going on in the head. Not always, but sometimes. I find that a very useful tool if I can get calm enough to remember it. Yes, Lee.
For me, freedom is when I have horses. And every time I see horses running and if their mane is falling, that to me is freedom. And I'm always drawn to that. I think it's why this country, many people honor the horses.
Thank you, thank you. Any other comments that are dying to get out? And, you know, it's like whenever somebody says something, there's somebody else, at least another person here that's saying, oh yes, that's what I was thinking. Or, yes, I needed or wanted to hear that. Or, oh, I never thought of that. So whatever you have to say, that you are free to say it, and I encourage you to say it. This is almost your last, oh, Phil.
With due respect to the celebration of the 4th of July and freedom, I just can't resist saying freedom is very precarious. Take a look at the Supreme Court. Let's celebrate what we have and try to keep it.
Yep, thank you. What we put our attention on increases. So when we put our attention on freedom, we can help to increase it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for encouraging us to share. I was feeling a bit shy. It's my first time.
Welcome.
But yeah, I really enjoyed today's talk. I just wanted to agree, and a lot of the quotes that you brought up for me really made me think about how our freedoms are so tied to our privilege. I agree, there's also that duality there of inner freedom for everyone, and I really enjoyed the quotes that you had of those who weren't really free reflecting on freedom. So that Virginia Woolf quote, for example, you know, a woman of her time being able to reflect on the freedom of her mind and her creativity and how she chose to share that was really beautiful. But yeah, I recently started teaching yoga classes in a prison, and I didn't do that throughout COVID. But to think about the things that I would usually say in a yoga class versus what you can say in a prison about really finding gratitude and, you know, just the hardships that they face. It's an interesting perspective on our freedoms and what we can do to share our privilege and share our freedoms and stand up for those who don't have freedoms, while also, you know, there's so much that has come out of prisons, and I know, for example, Nelson Mandela, or I believe the person who came up with the Reiki chants also came up with them, found them in prison. And so, yeah, just something about that duality of, you know, not being free, but finding freedom is really beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely, thank you. So I just have one more comment and then a little closing. This is about free will. Mankind was created. Well, mankind, we have these words in English. People, how about that? People was created by Spirit, God, first cause, whatever you want to call it, to be spontaneous, to be left alone and allowed to explore all the various avenues open, to move forward towards true awakening, to be let alone to discover and herself, and therefore was created with free will, not as an automaton, not as a robot. So all of us were created with free will so that we could explore this and find the truth, find the freedom for ourselves. And I think that's very powerful. So I want to go back in time. I think some of you remember Jonathan, who was a spiritual director here not too long ago, and he would often say, I'm going to tell a story. And then he would say, when did that story take place? Long ago. And where did it take place? Far away. So I'm going to tell a long ago story in the faraway place. Sunday in July 2013. I was living in Wilmington, Delaware, and I was giving a talk to our spiritual community on freedom. I lost all those notes. I have no idea what I said. So I was giving a talk, and at the very end of the talk, I said, there is something I have not been free to say until this week. I was prevented from saying this. I could not say it. And then I looked at Jerry, and I said, Jerry Lee Hodge, will you marry me? And there was screaming and yelling with the congregation, and Jerry just sat there with his mouth open. I thought, uh-oh. I did one of those ballpark things, when they show you kissing or whatever it is. And finally, I had to ask him again, well? And he said yes. And several years later, somebody said, so, how's your marriage working out? And I said, it's just not working at all. He still won't do what I tell him to, which is exactly. But all of a sudden, I was free to get married. And this is something that I think gay people my age can relate to, that it's not that I always thought, oh, gee, I wish I had the right to marry. I never thought about it because it was not a possibility in my life. Never. It wasn't like, oh, I hope I'll be able to get married someday. That thought never entered my mind. But obviously, it entered other people's minds. And so it came to be. And so on that day in 2013, I was free to say that. And it was a big moment in my life, that freedom that I was given. I always had another freedom inside to love Jerry and to be with him and to be committed with him. But I didn't have the freedom to legally marry him until July 2013. So I will end with that story. And thank you. And have a great day.
Thanks, Bob. My favorite freedom quote is, I just forgot it. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Do you remember by Jen? All right, we have a reading from Barbara Shea.
Rick?
Yes.
Oh, Matthew.
Sorry. Hold on. Sorry. Barbara.
I just wanted to, I started coming back to Althea once it opened after the COVID and was cooking and volunteering as a cook, helping out in the kitchen, and meeting all the amazing people that make this church run. It may not seem like that, but I wanted to thank them and name them. Sarma, who runs the volunteer program, thank you for that. And Carrie, he's the chef cooking today. He's making pulled pork sandwiches. I was helping him de-pit cherries earlier. It's not easy to do without a de-pitter, which I didn't know there was such a thing, but there is. But we don't have one today. But thank you, Carrie, for cooking. Peter, I don't see him. He must be, I think he leaves and comes back, but he helps in the kitchen. Barbara, who's going to be reading later. Thank you, Barbara. She was de-pitting with me. Serona, who helps out in the kitchen. Thank you, Serona. I want to thank Anna. She's running the spotlight. Sam over there. There's so many people. Jason is working the audio. Thank you, Jason. And Rick, thank you, Rick, for running everything. And Daryl, who's the rock, which I like to call the rock of the place. He runs the building, and he's amazing. So, we'll be seeing you later. Thank you to everyone that make this place such an amazing spiritual place. So this song I wrote, it's a devotional song to Krishna, who is the god of love in Hinduism. And it talks about the heart chakra, which is, just bodies of energy inside of you, chakras. They're twirling flowers, is what the Hindus say, but I like to think of my heart when I sing this song. We can all, think of filling the heart and opening up. Put a pebble in your pocket, don't take it out. It's a little story of what life is all about. Sitting in a tide swinging sunset. Hair rises and falls like waves on the ocean. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, I love you. Start your feet, come talk to me. Let me see the light in your eyes. Let me hold your hand and watch as you begin to smile. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, yeah. Hare Krishna, I love you. I feel it nice to me. My heart opens wide. You hold me close and you tell me everything will be alright. I feel you next to me, yeah. My heart it opens wide. You hold me close and you tell me it'll be alright. Open up your heart chakra and let it in. Open up your heart chakra, be free. Open up your heart chakra and let it in. Let the love of life come in. Open up your heart chakra and let it in. my skin, captured by the moment, no words to speak. I close my eyes and feel your devotion wrap around me. Hare Krishna Day, Hare Krishna Day, yeah, yeah. Hare Krishna Day, yeah. And I love you. Seasons come and seasons go. Love is there with the sun and with the snow. Light my way so I can see. Healing words that give me peace. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Day, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. I love you. Feel you next to me. My heart it opens wide. You hold me close and you tell me everything's gonna be alright. I feel you next to me. My heart it opens wide. You hold me close and you tell me everything will be alright. Open up your heart, chakra, and let it in. Open up your heart, be free. Open up your heart, chakra, let it in. Let that love of life come in. Open up the heart, chakra, let it in. Open up that heart, chakra, be free. Open up that heart, chakra, let it all come in. Let the love of the life, love of this life, love of this life come.
I have a reading this morning. It's a quote from a Jesuit mystic priest, Anthony de Mello. He says, "When our eyes are unobstructed, the result is clear sight. When our ears are unobstructed, the result is clear hearing. When our mind is unobstructed, the result is truth. When our heart is unobstructed, the result is joy, love, and peace." That is to say, it is the nature of our eyes to see clearly, understand clearly with our ears, and our heart to clearly know love. When we are obstructed, full of mental and emotional clutter, we lose touch with what is most true for us and the world around us. We are by nature peaceful, loving, and true.
Thank you, Barbara. That was beautiful, beautiful. Last Thursday, I think an example of how I express freedom, I participated in an interfaith pride service at the Unitarian Church just down the street, a couple blocks, and there was a couple of Baptist ministers, there was a rabbi, the Unitarian, I represented Althea, and it was, Phil was there, and it was such an expression of freedom. And to think that really not that long ago, that would have been unheard of. So it was really, really nice. And I hope Althea gets involved with the organization even more so. One thing I wanted to mention too is we have this lovely altar in front, and I always forget to mention it at the beginning. I'm sorry, Robert. But for those of you who know about it, you know about the altar of objects here. And for those of you who are new, when you come back next week, please bring something that you would like to sort of absorb the loving energies of the service. This altar here that's its purpose. Just remember to pick it up on your way out the door. But anything that you want to be blessed, a token, a saying, or anything else. It's a loving altar that Barbara every Sunday loves puts on. So let's take advantage of it. It is time now to go to the altar of your hearts for the offering and to give of your heart and your gifts and your earthly goods to sustain this community. We have many ways of doing that. Of course, the baskets will be going around. You can set up an evergreen account. We have a dip jar in the back where you just dunk in your credit card as many times as you want to. There's a code on the handout that you can also donate via. Is there another way? Cash?
Oh, the different.
Yeah, there's the dip jar. So please do give from your heart. This is a community that relies on all of us here. So after they get done, so ushers, if you are finished, bring it forward, and we will do our affirmation together. And if you just want to follow along with the program. The universe provides all that I need and all that I give. With great joy, I share my prosperity, planting seeds for a world I am helping manifest. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. Thank you. This is also now a time, a new feature of our service that we've recently added and has become, I think, welcomed by the community, is prayers of the people. And this is where we had a chance to ask the community for an affirmative prayer. We are, Althea was founded on affirmative prayer and New Thought movement. And we also, for those of you, again, who are new, and those of us who come here, you have a wonderful opportunity to have an affirmative prayer, a one-on-one prayer with, today it's Indara, who I will just tell you is magical. And so if you have any issue that is weighing on your heart, or something just that you would like to see manifest, joy or love or whatever your heart's desire, seek Indara after the service. But we want to open it up to the community. We'll pass around a microphone. Does anybody have a prayer that they would like to offer to the community? It's a perfect world, right? Your lives are perfect. But well, I would like to add one, and that is for our glorious Supreme Court. You know what to pray for. We talked about it at the prayer meeting that we met at 9:30, and it's praying that they have clarity. I don't know. Integrity, clarity. What else should we pray for them? Compassion.
Generosity.
New realizations. Good luck with that. So compassion, integrity. What else?
Generosity of spirit, like Christmas.
Generosity. What did you say? New thought. Any other prayers?
Intelligence.
Okay. Any other prayers?
Social justice.
For SCOTUS or just in general?
For those who need.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, we've done the offering. There is also another way to request an affirmative prayer. We have an online form at our website, altheacenter.org. You can submit that. We've recently changed it, updated the form so that none of the fields are required. Is that true? I don't think there's, right? There's no, it used to be that you had to put in your name, you know, da, 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 da. But now all you have to do is just put in, you know, a minimum of your prayer request. Those will be dispersed, so have faith that they will be prayed upon. So that is another way for you to experience affirmative prayer. And now it's time for announcements. Jean.
Hello and happy Sunday. Good to have everybody. I'm Ginny and I'm one of the board members. And one of the things I do here and there on Sundays is to tell you what is coming up. So first of all, I want to tell all of you who are new, we have a beautiful, scrumptious lunch right after this. And when it's your first time, it's free. So take advantage of that if you can stay with us. If you can't, you can use it on another Sunday. But and if you just want coffee or tea, that's going to be available as well. And it's right after service, so we have that. We also have something called the Deep Dive. And that is where our speaker for today, Bob Burklaw, will take us to a deeper place with this theme. That takes place after we eat. It's in the historic library, and it's usually a smaller crowd. It gives you an opportunity to meet some other Altheans, and you get to talk about this concept of freedom. And you get to do it in a little more intimate atmosphere. Now we realize this is a holiday weekend, we all have plans, we're busy, so it may be a very small group, but please roll out and Bob will decide, you know, if only one person shows up, I guess it depends on how much fun you are. Is that one person? And if 20 people show up, then he's bound to do it. So that's our deep dive, so Bob will be doing that afterwards. But let me tell you, our biggest news is next Saturday, that is the 9th. We are having an Althea block party. So it is for this part of Capitol Hill and everyone else who wants to come. It's going to take place here from 4 to 7, mostly outside. How many of you know about the amazing, talented young people who have been rehearsing here for the last few months? Yes. So 5280 Theater Company has been having their kids rehearse Broadway tunes. They are going to give back for letting them use the space by doing a performance. And they're going to do it right on the steps. My daughter is part of it, so everybody better be there. And we're asking for donations, so it's a little bit of a fundraiser as well, but these kids are going to get to show you what they've been been practicing for the last couple of months. Now, there's also a celebration of life on Saturday for one of our beloved members, Bob Beal, who passed away during the pandemic. That is still going to happen earlier in the day, so this doesn't conflict with that at all. You can do both things. That wraps up around 1:30. So come out 4 to 7, and as usual, we need folks to help us over this next week to get ready. We're going to have a silent auction. We're going to have food. I think we're going to have booze, right? I think we're going to have booze. Thank God that prohibition thing was repealed all those years ago. Quick story. Can I tell my grandma prohibition story, Bob? My grandmother was alive during Prohibition, and when they repealed it, she was angry. And so the story goes that they asked her why, and she said, under Prohibition, the bootlegger came to your house and delivered all your booze, and it was so easy, it was cheaper. And now that it's legal, I have to go to a store, it's more expensive, I have to pay tax. Anyway, so that's my Nana story and her booze story. She was good Catholic. Some of the things at the silent auction that we're going to have, we are going to have things like professional headshots are going to be auctioned off, a yoga experience in your home with guests, pet photo shoot, how cool is that? A singing telegram song at any event that you wanted, an artwork basket, gardening, landscaping, all sorts of cool things are going to be there for that. So if you would like to be part of helping us get ready, let Rick know. Rick, can you wave your hand there in the back? Rick Stanton is the guy to talk to, because yes, we have all sorts of things coming up. All right, real quick, what else we got going? We will have a community forum via Zoom this Wednesday night, July 6th, from 7:30 to 8:30. Our community's been through a lot over the past few months, and we recognize that some people might want to talk about that and share what they're feeling, so that's what we've set this Zoom up for. So you will have information on how to join that Zoom as we get closer to Wednesday.
It's in the newsletter.
And it's in the newsletter, that's right. If you're new to this, your email address in the back, and we'll get you signed up for the newsletter. Let's see, I don't want to leave anybody out. Next Sunday, our speaker is Connie Carter. She's amazing. And her talk will be called Practice, 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 a Spiritual Unfolding. I'm not going to tell you more than that. It's going to be so cool. One of our folks, Erin, who talked from up above in the balcony, wants to let everyone know that he has a 1-bedroom to rent, blocks from here, blocks from the Botanic Gardens at 12th and York, in a beautiful historic home over 100 years old. And he's going to be renting it out. That doesn't happen very often. So if you know anyone who needs a 1-bedroom in this neighborhood, please let him know. We do need folks to help us pass out flyers, and know that you will be hearing from us, from the board and others, about committees that are going to be forming, because we have so many cool things we want to do, right? For those of you who were here pre-pandemic, this used to be filled with about 150 people on a Sunday in the balcony. We had about 20 kids in our kids program, and the pandemic and changes have shrunk our numbers. People have not come all the way back. But we have a vision that is going to come back, because Althea has always been thriving. We're going to thrive through this as well. So we would ask you to invite your friends and family, come back again. Our Sundays will be getting better and better and better. Anything else that I failed to mention? That's it. All right, so thank you everyone, and please join us. Prayer partners afterward, dining room, and I'll turn it back over to Rick.
Thank you, Ginny. So it is now time for a closing prayer. And then we will have our community song drill sing us out. So let's just get centered one more time. And just feel, hopefully, everyone's heart is more lighter. There is a joy within each and every one of us in being with each other and having experienced the joy of this wonderful community, this wonderful center. And so I declare that each and every one of us returns, once we walk out of these doors, rejuvenated and examples of loving life to present to this world that needs it so very, very much. So together we say, and so it is.
Good morning. So please stand as you're able and join me in our community song, Home on Parade.
I did too.
Yeah.